Horses are on the track and part of the pose for the first race. Fillies and mares, condition pace at 1 mile, purse at $2,200. First half of the early double, exact trifecta wagering, a field of 10, no changes. The 10 Boy Chaser will score from the second tier, being led to the post by outrider Kathy Hawk. Number 1 is Max Gwen, owned by Turbulent Air Incorporated of Beaver, Ohio, trained by Olin Harness, Justin Hall. The 2 is Sand Showgirl, owned by Bill Sanders of Stevenson, Alabama, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Ryan Goldenhand Stall. Number 3 is Tiz Now, owned by Kathleen Borchers of Bellbrook, Ohio, trained by John Arrowood, with Scioto Downs leading driver Brett Miller. The 4 is Max's Noble Lady, owned by Jim Chaliff of Cincinnati, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Dailey. The 5 is VC On Time, owned by Doug Meyer of Grove City, Ohio, trained by Jeff Amen, with Don Sensabox. The 6 is Generally Outspoken, owned by John Turgliato of Temperance, Michigan, trained by Travis Redd and Jeff Fout. The 7 Cam's Halo, owned in partnership by Paul Wade and Stephen Watkins of the Buckeye State, trained by Dan McClog, Bob Harper. The 8 is Midway Dottie, owned and trained by John Bussey of Thornville, Ohio, the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. From the outside of the 9, One Fast Trick, owned by Stonack of New Jersey, Schultz of Pennsylvania, Krippendorf and Vigiano of New Jersey, trained by Scott Mogan, Chip Noble. And for the second tier, number 10, Boy Chaser, by Peter Van Keuren at Glen Rock, New Jersey, trained by Timmy Rucker, Adam Rucker, and her sulky. That's the field for the first race. Fillies and mares, first half of the early double, exactas and tries. There they go to kick off the early daily double. This field is in motion. Being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing for the lead. Middle of the track, Max's Noble Lady driving through from the rail. Max Gwen up on the outside there, 3 deep there. That is Cam's Halo, who is marching on. Away in 4th, Sand Showgirl angled along the pylons in 5th. Tiz Now. 6th from the second tier, Boy Chaser. 7th there along the inside, VC On Time. Followed in 8th by Generally Outspoken. Of the 2 trailers here are Midway Dottie and One Fast Trick. As they step towards the initial quarter and on top of the field, leading the way here through the opening quarter at 28 1/5. That's Max's Noble Lady and Jim Dailey out there on the point, leading it by a length and a quarter. To the inside of Max Gwen is right there, stalking that garden spot, racing in 2. On the inside, Cam's Halo is now covered up in 3rd, sent first over the rim, racing in 4th. Sand Showgirl flushing that cover, 2nd over the outside in 5. Tiz Now. Boy Chaser locked in along the rail, racing in 6th. 3rd over on the outside, racing in 7th there as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half. That's Generally Outspoken. They reach the half in 57 4/5. To the outside in 8th, VC On Time along the rail, racing in 9th as they step off the turn and drive down the backside. That is Midway Dottie in 10th, and trailing the field, One Fast Trick. On top of the field, leading the way, Max's Noble Lady with less than 3/8 of a mile to travel now. To the outside, bearing down, racing in 2. That is Sand Showgirl, locked in at the rail in 3rd. Max Gwen, 2nd over the outside, racing in 4th. That is Tiz Now. 5th on the inside, Cam's Halo, as they race by the 3/4 mile mark of the race, 3/4 in 1:27 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. To the outside, Sand Showgirl, but she can't clear Max's Noble Lady, and ready to be swung 3 high here. That's Tiz Now, and out 4 wide will be Cam's Halo as they turn to the top of Power Alley. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come. Middle of the track, Sand Showgirl to the outside, Tiz Now. Here's Cam's Halo, who is charging hard on the outside. Cam's Halo blows right on by. Cam's Halo in front. Finishing second to 3, Tiz Now. 3rd was the 2, Sand Showgirl. The time of the mile, 1:57 flat. Cam's Halo in a first victory in 2004. Board here at 30 1. Here's the 7 Cam's Halo, a 5-year-old bay mare by Camtastic out of a Brett Hanover mare. Brett's Halo, owned in partnership by Paul Wade and Stephen Watkins of the Buckeye State, trained by Dan McClog. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Bob Harper. The 7 Cam's Halo, home a winner in 1:57 flats, returning $63, $11.27. Second was the 3 Tiz Now, returning $243. Third of the 2 Sand Showgirl, $480. The 7-3 Exacta is worth $266 even, while the 7-3-2 Try is worth $3,183.60. Stepping out of the paddock for the evening second race, the condition pace at 1 mile, purse at $2,200 as we wish a happy 49th birthday to Steve Nito. Second half of the early double, exacta trifecta wagering, a field of 9, no changes. Number 1 is Noble Alex, owned by Jim Chaliff of Cincinnati, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Dailey. With the 2 is House of Sam, home with the Shout Stable of Pompano Beach, Florida, trained and driven by Rick Shout. Number 3 is Broadway Brad, owned by Charles Berry of Marshall, Michigan, trained by George Anthrop with a K-man, Kane Kaufman. The 4 is Sharp Steve, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio, J.D. Perrin at the reins. The 5 is Sweet Sam, owned by the Bed Stable of Sunbury, Ohio, trained and driven by Adam Rucker. The 6 is L.Cargo Bluegrass, owned by Winchester Bay Acres Incorporated of Powell, Ohio, trained by Darrell Hoosier with Ryan Goldenhand Stall. Number 7 is Cruisin' Sombra, owned by Beverly Bushelman of Franklin, Ohio, trained and driven by Darrell Collins. The 8 is D.Webb, owned in partnership by the Hartley Farms Incorporated of Fremont, Ohio, and Paul Gillenwater of Helena, Ohio, trained by Mark Gillenwater, Brett Miller. And for the outside of the 9, FALCON'S STAHL, owned by Diane Miller of Archbold, Ohio, and Patty Roth of Wauseon, Ohio, trained by Mike Roth, Bob Harper, and the Sulky. That's the field for the second race. Been moving in. The Albert starting gate swings into the back stretch, and they're getting set for a start. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing in a very nice start and flashing speed from the outside. FALCON'S STAHL is sent on the go there and is crossing quickly to the pylons. Up on the outside, racing in 2, that's D.Webb along the pylons in 3rd, L.Cargo Bluegrass. Along the rail, racing in 4th, Broadway Brad. Away in 5 of the rail, Noble Alex. 6th on the inside, House of Sam. Followed in 7th by Sharp Steve. And the 2 trailers here are Sweet Sam and Cruisin' Sombra. Can see them all backed off the wings of the starting gate. The opening quarter came and went in a sizzling 26 3/5. And up top here, FALCON'S STAHL with the lead here, leading it by 2 1/4. Into the inside, D.Webb is right there, tracking that garden spot into L.Cargo Bluegrass is watching over the top 2 from 3rd. Broadway Brad stays in from 4th there. Outer flow begins to form here, sent first over the outside in 5. Noble Alex stepping around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half. 2nd over the outside in 6. House Sam staying in 7th. Sharp Steve. 8th and 3rd over there on the outside. That is Sweet Sam, and 9th and trailing Cruisin' Sombra. They're off the half, 56 1/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 here, and FALCON'S STAHL is trying to bottom out this field, leading it by 1 1/4. To the inside, D.Webb is sticking right with him, nose to helmet in 2. And off stride goes D.Webb from the pocket there. First up on the outside, Noble Alex. To the outside, L.Cargo Bluegrass in 3rd. 3/4 and 125 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and on top, FALCON'S STAHL is trying to make every pull a winning one, leading it by a half. To the outside, Noble Alex is grinding it up on 2. Inside in 3rd, Broadway Brad at the top of the stretch. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come. FALCON'S STAHL, will he be able to last? Up the inside, Broadway Brad way down low. Here's Sharp Steve, and Sharp Steve comes rolling onto the scene to get it all. Broadway Brad to go 2nd, finishing 3rd of the 9. FALCON'S STAHL, the time of the mile, 1:55 flat. Sharp Steve in a new lifetime mark. 4:39 is unofficial. Trackside of the winner's circle, the unofficial winner of the second race, as we wish a happy 49th birthday to Steve Nito. Happy birthday, Steve. Timed at 1:55 flat, a new lifetime mark here. Posting the 4th win in 2004 and a heads-up drive from J.D. Perrin. Here's the 4 Sharp Steve, a 10-year-old bay gelding by Look Sharp out of a Keystone Ore mare farm. Crystal, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver J.D. Perrin. The 4 Sharp Steve, new lifetime mark, 1:55 flat, comes at the hands of J.D. Perrin, returning 49.80 of 14.80, 11.40. Second of the 3, Broadway Brad, 7.60, 5.40. Third of the 9, FALCON'S STAHL, 8.20. 4-3 exacta, $566.40. 439 try is worth $4,829.80. That's a $1 ticket. And the early double of 7 and 4 will get you $1,478. Go to 7 with a scratch. The 2, Mystic Howard Sick. Here are the parading pacers. The 1 is Stinky Flynn, owned and trained by James Cargo of Morrow, Ohio, with Chip Noble, the driver. Number 2, Mystic Howard has been scratched sick. Next, the 3, Meals on Wheels, owned by James and Pamela Davis. 11 in Ohio, trained by Brandon Piggott with Bob Harper. The 4 is Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, owned and trained by Dan Ader at Clarksburg, Ohio, Cal Ader. The 5 is Reasonable Doubt, owned by Phyllis Crosley, 11 in Ohio, trained by Dick James, the K-Man, Kane KAUFFMAN. The 6 is Bikini Kinda Guy, owned in partnership by Parker of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, and Berger of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Doug Parker, Jim Dailey. The 7, Red Bullet, owned by Burke of Pennsylvania, Chericello of New Jersey, and Lawrence of New Jersey, trained by Mickey Burke Sr., Brett Miller. Into the outside of the 8, Silver Rush, owned by Dan Stone and Eddie Pulling of Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Eddie Pulling with Jeff Fout and the Sulky. That's the field for the 3rd race. Quarter to 6, the gate swings into the back stretch, and they're in the hands of the starter, Andy Albert. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the rail. There goes Stinky Flynn, middle of the track. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em is also headed out for command here. From the outside, Red Bullet looks to be ducked and tucked in 3rd. On the inside, Meals on Wheels is next in 4th. Just ahead of there in 5th, Reasonable Doubt. 6th is Bikini Kinda Guy in 7th, and trailing Silver Rush as they step around the first turn and over to the opening quarter, being led up top by Stinky Flynn. On the point here, leading it by length and a half. Into the inside, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em is racing into the opening quarter, was stepped off in 27 3/5. On by the stand for the first time and heading on down to the half. Red Bullet is watching over the top 2 from 3rd. Meals on Wheels is racing in 4th there. 5th, that is Reasonable Doubt. 6th, and a move to the outside, Silver Rush. Shoveled back in 7th and trailing the field. That is Bikini Kinda Guy. As they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half, they roll. On top, Stinky Flynn continues to carve out the fractions, leading it here at 16 to 1 by length and a quarter. Into the inside into Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. They're halfway home, 57 seconds flat. Up on the outside, first over in 3rd and gaining ground, Red Bullet. 2nd over the outside in 4th there. At his Meals on Wheels, driving down the backside they go, nearing the 3/4 mile mark of the race, less than 3/8 of a mile to travel. On to the front, Red Bullet, our new leader here. Into the inside, Stinky Flynn could not go with him into first up on the outside, left there in 3rd. At his Meals on Wheels, locked in at the rail, racing in 4th. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em outside in 5th. Silver Rush, 3/4 in 1:24 4/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Red Bullet out there on the front end is opened up a commanding lead here of 7.5, 8 lengths. Stinky Flynn is still there in 2nd as they turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than 1/8 of a mile to pace, and they're on their way home, driving through Power Alley, and Red Bullet is all over this field here, and he's rolling away. Red Bullet well in hand and well in command here. Red Bullet finishing 2nd, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. Close for 3rd is the 1, Stinky Flynn. Time of the mile, 1:52 4/5. Red Bullet in a new lifetime mark on a lightning fast track. 2 4/5 to establish a new lifetime mark. The 7th win in just 30 tries in 2004. Here's the 7, Red Bullet. A 4-year-old bay owned by world champion life sign out of a Cam Fellamare, Lady Cargo, owned by Burke of Pennsylvania, Chericello of New Jersey, Lawrence of New Jersey, trained by Mickey Burke Sr. Nicely handled here this evening by Scioto Downs leading driver, and the Dash leading driver in all of North America, the Hitman, Brett Miller. The 7, Red Bullet, 1:52 4/5. Red Bullet returning $7.80, $3.40, $3. 2nd, the 4, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, $3.20, $3. 3rd of the 1, Stinky Flynn, $4 even. 7-4 exacta, $17.80, 7-4 1 try, $168 even. Number 1 is Lighthouse Special, owned and trained by Paul Cruz of Miamisburg, Ohio, Jim Dailey, the driver. The 2 is the Towering Oaks Farm Incorporated of Mentor, Ohio's Delray Rocket, trained by Scott Cox, Ryan Stahl. The 3 is Firm 1, owned and trained by Steve Boroff of Minden, Ohio, Trent Bates at the lines. The 4 is Mr. Sox, owned by the All Saints Farms of Marysville, Ohio, trained by Robert Boggs with Brett Miller. Number 5 is Make a Big Splash, owned by Robert Miller of Laverne, Kentucky, trained by Mike Roth, Bob Harper. The 6 is Bert and Bobby, owned in partnership by Pauline Bryant and Donald Cockerell. They're both of the Buckeye State, trained by Donald Cockerell, Jeff Fout, the reinsman. Number 7 is Rain Connection, owned by Lionel Ray Whitaker, Zanesville, Ohio, and Trent Tharps. 11 in Ohio, trained and driven by Trent Tharps. Into the outside of the 8, New Bolton, owned by Michael Smiglio of Lyndhurst, Ohio, trained by Scott Parkinson, Chip Noble, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 4th race, the 7th leg of the William Sargent pace. Early pick 3 wagering begins here. Exactas and tries a field of 8. As steady rain starts to fall here at Scioto Downs. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing middle of the track. The 5 make a big splash, splashing out for the lead here. From the inside, Del Rey Rocket is coming away in 2. Driving up in the center of the course, Mr. Sox is looking to march on towards the top. Away in 4, that is Firm 1. Got to the outside in 5th. That's Rain Connection sliding through to be 5 now. That is Burton Bobby. 6 to the outside, Rain Connection. 7th is New Bolton, and 8th in trailing Lighthouse Special. As they race over to the opening quarter came and went in 27 and 2/5. On by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and Mr. Sox and Brett Miller out there on the point, leading it by length and 3 parts. To the inside, Make a Big Splash is going along in 2. Del Rey Rocket is racing in 3rd, sent first over on the rim, racing in 4th, Firm 1. Flushing that cover, 2nd over the outside in 5, New Bolton, staying in from 6th there. That is Burton Bobby, 7th along the inside as they step in front of the paddock and on over to the half. Lighthouse Special and 8th in trailing Rain Connection. They're halfway home, 57 and 2/5. A second quarter there at 30 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and on top, Mr. Sox with a lead here. Now at the leader's wheel disc, racing into. That is Firm 1 and swung up 3 wide of the outside. Here comes New Bolton, and New Bolton is challenging the leader 3 wide of the outside. Inside in 4th, Make a Big Splash. Del Rey Rocket is looking for racing room in 5th. Outside in 6th, Burton Bobby. 3/4 and 125 and 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Mr. Sox with a lead here has battled back to lead it by a length and a quarter. To the outside, Firm 1 still 3 high, and now off stride New Bolton as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and Mr. Sox with a lead here within the final 16th. The battle's on for 2nd and 3rd. This is Mr. Sox, home a winner here. Going to be very close for 2nd there. May have been the 3 Firm 1 photo for show. Time of the mile 1:54 flat. Mr. Sox. The 5th win in just 10 tries in 2004. Here's the 4, Mr. Sox. A 3-year-old bay counting by Firm Belief out of a die-laughing mare, Chatting Lady. Home with the All Saints Farm of Marysville, Ohio, trained by Robert Boggs. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. That's 2 wins on this evening's card. Back-to-back wins for Brett, giving him a driving double. The 4, Mr. Sox, 154 flat. So official, the 4, Mr. Sox, returning 340, 260, 240. Second, the 3, Firm 1, 860, 340. Third of the 5, Make a Big Splash, $4 even. 4-3 Exactas worth $68.80. 4-3-5 tried, $232. 20 edition pace at 1 mile, purse of $5,000. Exacta trifecta superfecta wagering. Down to a field of 9, scratch the 9, Bubba's New Nike, sick. With the 10, Midnight Walk, will score from the 2nd tier. Here are the pacers. The 1 is Silk Boxers, owned by Esther Crownover, MacArthur, Ohio, trained by Earl Owings, Kyle Waiter, the driver. Number 2 is Cable Car Hanover, owned by Ralph Deshensky of North Branch, Michigan, trained by Mike Roth, Bob Harper. The 3 is Perfect Fact, owned by Melissa LeVan of Marysville, Ohio, trained by Herb LeVan, with Ace Nicehonger up. The 4 is All Special K's, owned by Paver of Marysville, Ohio, and Paver of Raymond, Ohio, trained by Joe Paver, Jim Dailey. The 5 is Black and Gold Pete, owned the lessee is also the trainer Mark Deaton of Somerville, Ohio, Steve Carter, the driver. The 6, Only After Midnight, owned by Robert T.Unice of Elizabeth, New Jersey, trained by Mickey Burke Sr., Brett Miller. The 7, Red Silk Sales, owned by Carol Jean Noble, Cedarville, Ohio, trained and driven by Chip Noble. Number 8 is Arizona Cactus, and with the Dream On Stables of Richwood, Ohio, trained by John Ackley, the K-Man, Kane KAUFFMAN. With the 9, Bubba's New Nikes is out sick. And number 10 for the 2nd tier, Midnight Walk, owned by John Turgliato at Temperance, Michigan, trained by Travis Redden, Jeff Fouty, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 5th race, condition pace. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving out of there, middle of the track. There goes the 5, Black and Gold Pete, driving through from the inside. Perfect Fact placed on the go from the outside. Only After Midnight is driving on, stepping towards the top. Inside and 4, that is Silk Boxers. Away in 5th from the second tier. Midnight Walk, 6th along the inside. All Special K. 7th there is Cable Car Hinover. Got to the outside and rough gated there, racing in 8. That is Arizona Cactus, or rather Red Silk Sails. And Arizona Cactus can see them all. The opening quarter came and went in a sizzling 27 3/5 there, and on by the stand for the first time and heading on down to the half. Only After Midnight leads the way here. Now over the outside here, looking to brush to the top. Here's Perfect Fact, and Perfect Fact is looking to step on by here into the clubhouse turn and on over to the half. From the inside, Black and Gold Pete will watch over these doing leaders from 3rd. On the inside, racing in 4th, there's Silk Boxers, tipping to the outside, racing in 5th. As they reach the halfway mile mark of the race, they're halfway home, 56 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and on top. Only After Midnight in for the East Coast, leading it by length and a half. Into the inside, Perfect Fact is now stalking that garden spot in 2. Along the rail, racing in 3rd, Black and Gold Pete. Outside, racing in 4th there, that is Silk Boxers. Bare to the rail in 5, All Special Ks. Outside, racing in 6, Midnight Walk. 7th there is Cable Car Hanover. 8th is Arizona Cactus, and 9th and trailing Red Silk Sails. 3/4, 1:23 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Only After Midnight with a lead here by 4.5, 5 lengths. Perfect Fact is trying to reel him back in as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and Only After Midnight is doing it and doing with style here. Only After Midnight in front, finishing second to 3. Perfect Fact. It's going to be close for 3rd here. I believe it's going to be the 2, Cable Car Hanover. Time of the mile, 1:52 2/5. Only After Midnight. So official, the 6 Only After Midnight, returning $480, $260, $360. Second to 3, Perfect Fact, returning $263. Third to the 2, Cable Car Hanover, $540. 6-3 Exact is worth $12.40. Well, the 6-3-2 Trifecta. $94.60. 6-3-2-8 Super, $239.40. Trackside of the winner's circle, the official winner of the 5th race, timed at 1:52 2/5. The 6 Only After Midnight, the 3rd score in his career. 3-year-old Bay Gunny Matt Scooter out of a Falcon Elmhurst mare, My Lady Falcon, owned by Robert T.Unice in Elizabeth, New Jersey, trained by Mickey Burke Sr., nicely handled here this evening by the winning driver, Brett Miller. That's 3 wins in a row for Brett, giving him a driving triple. Handicap pace at 1 mile, purse at $10,000. Exact Trifecta wagering. A field of 7 to go postward here. A very talented field of 7. Happy 21st birthday, Scott Piney. Drivers change of the 4, Coast to Coast Yankee, Brett Miller. The 5, Cam's Fast Gun, Bob Harper. The 1 is Title Shot, owned by Melinda Harp of Franklin, Ohio, trained by Robert Davis, Kyle Wader. Well, the 2 is Epps, owned by Vivian Shively Lang of Hamilton, Ohio, trained by Jim Artledge. The K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 3 is Devil's Music, owned by Kathy S. of Troy, Ohio, trained by David Bodenmiller, Jeff Fout, the reinsman. The 4 is Coast to Coast Yankee, owned in partnership by the Darby's Edge Stable of Ohio, Joe Descala Jr. of New York, Ed Mullinex of Ohio, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr., Brett Miller, the driver. Number 5 is Cam's Fast Gun, owned by Burke, Howard, and Keuren. They're of Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia, trained by Mickey Burke Sr., Bob Harper. Number 6 is Rusty Water, with the Eagle Country Stables Incorporated of Olivet, Michigan, trained by George Anthrop, Dean Collins. And to the outside of the 7, Foxy Maneuver, with the East Racing Stable Incorporated of Greenfield, Indiana, trained by Donald East, Chip Noble, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 6th race, Invitational Handicap, Exact Trifecta wager. Foxy Maneuver on the outside, a field of 7, moving up and moving in. The gate swings into the back stretch, and there they go for the Invitational Handicap field in motion. Bang, sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing away. Middle of the track, Cam's Fast Gun gets the first call here. Off stride went the 1 Title Shot. Middle of the track there, Devil's Music is drove out as well. From the inside, Epps driving over the outside in 4th. That is Rusty Water. 5th on the inside and sliding through to be 4th now. That is Coast to Coast Yankee. Angle to the pylons in 5th. Rusty Water. 6th there along the inside. Foxy Maneuver in 7th and trailing Title Shot as they wheel towards the opening quarter. The opening quarter comes and goes in 20 56 3/5. On by the stand for the first time and heading on down to the half. Up top, Cam's Fast Gun and Bob Harper on the point, leading it by a length and a half. Into the inside, Devil's Music is tracking into a gap of 2 there in third. That's Epps sent first over the outside in fourth. Coast to Coast Yankee flushing that cover. Second over the outside in 5, Foxy Maneuver. Sixth is Rusty Water in seventh and trailing Title Shot as they wheel in front of the paddock and race over to the half. They're halfway home, 55 4/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and up top with the lead here. Cam's Fast Gun and now bearing down on the outside in 2. Coast to Coast Yankee along the rail. Devil's Music is third. Second over the outside in fourth, Foxy Maneuver. To the outside, third over the outside, racing in fifth there. That is Rusty Water. Sixth along the rail, Epps, and seventh and pulled up Title Shot as they wheel towards 3/4 and Coast to Coast Yankee zips them there in 1:22 4/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. Coast to Coast Yankee with the lead here. Foxy Maneuver is still trying to close in, and second along the rail, Cam's Fast Gun is a fading third to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and Coast to Coast Yankee with the lead here. And to the outside, Foxy Maneuver is getting no closer, and second as they come to the wire. This is Coast to Coast Yankee. Finishing second, the 7, Foxy Maneuver. Third was the 6, Rusty Water. The time of the mile, 1:51 flat. Coast to Coast Yankee in a new lifetime mark over the sloppy conditions. Very impressively here tonight over the sloppy conditions in 1:51 flat. Here's the 4, Coast to Coast Yankee in a new lifetime mark. A 4-year-old bay horse by Arts Plays out of a No Nukes mare, Yankee Co. With the Darby's Edge stable of Ohio, Joe DeScala Jr. of New York, and Ed Mullinex of Amherst, Ohio, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. That's 4 wins in a row for Brett, giving him a grand slam already on this evening's card. The 4, Coast to Coast Yankee, home in a new lifetime mark, 1:51 flat. Sirs. The 1 is Crown Time Big Ben, owned by Esther Crownover, MacArthur, Ohio, trained by Earl Owings, Jeff Fount. With the 2 is Super Gizmo, owned by Martin and Carol Presser of University Heights, Ohio, trained by Ron Potter with Ace Nicehonger. The 3 is Bodacious Bay, owned by Winchester Bay Acres Incorporated of Powell, Ohio, trained by Daryl Hoosier with Adam Rucker. The 4 is Caviar Jackson, owned in partnership by Joe the Chafee and Clarence Chafee Jr. of Vienna, Virginia, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Dallas Miller. The 5 is Uphill Battle, with the Hartley Farms Incorporated of Fremont, Ohio, and Paul Gillenwater of Helena, Ohio, trained by Mark Gillenwater, Kyle Waiter. The 6 is Truly Cam Star, by Smith Sr. of Carroll, Ohio, and Smiths of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, trained and driven by Jim Dailey. The 7 is the White Creek Stable Incorporated of Dublin, Ohio's Shine Tow, trained and driven by Dean Collins. The 8, Noble Cam, owned by Charles Meyer of Ottawa, Ohio, trained by Dave Stratton, Chip Noble. The outside of the 9, Look Both Ways, owned by Albert and Regina Favot of Huron Township, Michigan, trained by Calvin Holler, Trent Tharps Jr. And for the second tier, number 10, Windage Hanover, owned by Burke of Pennsylvania, Carr of New Jersey, Churchill of New Jersey, and Copeland of South Carolina, trained by Mickey Burke Sr., Brett Miller, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 7th race. Exact trifecta wagering. A field of 10 to go postward. Drivers change of the 9. Look Both Ways. Trent Tharps Jr. The 10. Windage Hanover will score from the second tier. Post time 9:26. Just Bay before the start. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and rolling out of there for the lead. There goes the 4, Caviar Jackson, getting the first call. Driving up from the pylons, Crown Time Big Ben. Up on the outside of there, Noble Cam is forwardly placed and marching on towards the top. Away and forth from the second tier, Windage Hanover. 5th to the outside of there, Look Both Ways. 6th along the rail, Super Gizmo. Followed in 7th there by Uphill Battle. Up on the inside, racing in 8th, Truly Cam Star. 9th there is Shine Tow, and 10th and trailing after the early miscue, Bodacious Bay. The opening quarter was stepped off in 27 4/5. Racing on by the grandstand for the first time and heading on down to the half. And Noble Cam had to work for it, but he's clear to the top by a length and a half. Rolling into the wire with less than 5/8 of a mile to travel. Caviar Jackson is stalking in that garden spot in 2. Look Both Ways hung to the outside in 3rd. Along the rail, racing in 4th, Crown Time Big Ben. 2nd over the outside of there, following the cover, that's Windage Hanover. Along the inside, racing in 6th, Truly Cam Star. 3rd over the outside in 7th. 7th, Super Gizmo off the half in 57 2/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4. Up on the outside of there, racing in 8th as they step towards the 3/4 mile mark is uphill battle. 9th along the rail, Shine Tao, and 10th and trailing Bodacious Bay. Rolling towards 3/4 and on top. Noble Cam, your 8 to 5 punter's choice with a lead here. Swung up 3 wide of the outside. Windage Hanover continues to close at the rail. Caviar Jackson, 3/4 and 125 and 2/5. Backside, 28 seconds flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. And Noble Cam in a downpour here continues to lead it by 2 1/4. To the inside, Caviar Jackson up the outside. Here's Crown Time. Big Bend to the top of Power Alley. Less than an eighth of a mile to pace, and they're on their way home. Driving through the stretch, and Noble Cam with a lead here, and he's holding sway by 2 1/4. Now 2 1/2. Noble Cam well in hand. Finishing second, the 4, Caviar Jackson, very close for third there. The time of the mile, 1:54 and 2/5. Noble Cam back to winning ways. First victory in 2004. 4 timed at 1:54 and 2. Here's the H, Noble Cam, a 5-year-old brown horse by Noble and Sam out of a Camtastic mare. Camtown Sweetie, owned by Charles Meyer of Ottawa, Ohio, trained by David Stratton, nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Chip Noble. The 8, Noble Cam, 1:54 and 2/5. 8-4-1-2 unofficial. 8-4-1 unofficial. So official, 8-4-1 official. The 8, Noble Cam returning 5:24. Here are the parading pacers. The 1 is Royal Marjo with the Cool Million stable, Waynesville, Ohio, trained by Rod King with Chip Noble. Number 2 is Art of the Matter, owned by Harold Ward of Dayton, Ohio, trained by Dennis Ward with Trent Tharps. The 3 is Meadowland Partner, owned in partnership by Tamara Hoover of Pataskal, Ohio, and Pat Metters of Washington, Pennsylvania, trained by Mike Metters with Ryan Goldenhand Stall. The 4 is Zodiac Mac, owned in partnership by Jerry Webb and Gene Humphrey of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Daryl Hoosier with Adam Rucker. The 5 is Sand Magic Ride, owned by Martin and Carol Presser of University Heights, Ohio, trained by Ron Potter, Ace Nysonger. Number 6 is Fakes Folly, home with the Hartley Farms Incorporated of Fremont, Ohio, and Paul Gillenwater of Helena, Ohio, trained by Mark Gillenwater, Brett Miller, the reinsman. Number 7 here is Meadowland Shuffle, owned by Dan Stone and Eddie Pulling in Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Eddie Pulling with Jim Dailey. And for the outside of the 8 is Vienna's Boy, owned by James Davis in Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Brandon Piggott, Bob Harper, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 8th race. Exacta trifecta weight. Field in motion. Being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing out of there for the lead. There goes Meadowland Partner driving up on the outside. Vienna's Boy is on the go. From the rail, Royal Marjo comes away in 3rd. 4th on the inside, Art of the Matter. Settled in, racing in 5, Zodiac Mac. Just ahead of there in 6, Sand Magic Ride. 7th, that is Fakes Folly. And 8th, and trailing the field of Meadowland Shuffle. Stepping around the first turn in single file formation up top. Leading the way here, Meadowland Partner, and Ryan Goldenhand Stall is going to report to the opening quarter here in a moderate 28 seconds flat. Rolling on by the stand for the first time and marching on down to the half. Meadowland Partner up top here, dictating the fractions, leading it by a length and a quarter. Vienna's Boy is stalking that garden spot, racing in 2. Royal Marjo stays in from 3rd. Sent first over the outside in 4th, Zodiac Mac. Following that cover, second over the outside in 5th, Sand Magic Ride. Pendant at the pylons, racing in 6th, Art of the Matter. 3rd over on the outside, racing in 7th, Meadowland Shuffle. And 8th, and trailing the field, Shuffle back here. Fakes Folly around the clubhouse turn. They're at the half, 58 and 1/5. A second quarter at 30 and 1. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Their long journey towards 3/4 begins now, and on top, Meadowland Partner out there on the front, leading it by a length and a quarter. Exiting the 2-hole there and up the challenge on the outside of Vienna's Boy and Bob Harper. Exiting the 2-hole there over the outside in 3rd, Zodiac Mac cannot go on. Inside, racing in 4th, Royal Marjo. 5th and sent up 3 wide, Sand Magic Ride. 6th, Art of the Matter. 7th there, that's Fakes Folly. And 8th and trailing Meadowland Shuffle. 3/4 quarters and 127 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and on top, Meadowland partner with a lead here. To the outside, Vienna's Boy is racing in second. Desperately looking for racing room. The Miller Lite, long shot of the night. Royal Marjo to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come up the inside. Here comes Royal Marjo, and way down low, here's Art of the Matter as they come to the wire. Art of the Matter gets up to win it way down low in the super stretch, finishing second to 3, Meadowland partner. Third of the mile was the 1, Royal Marjo. The time of the mile, 1:56 and 3/5, Art of the Matter. Art of the Matter, a 6-year-old bay outing by Arts Place out of a No Nukes mare. Ariel Lobel, owned by Harold Ward at Dayton, Ohio, trained by Dennis Ward. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Trent Tharps. The 2, Art of the Matter, 1:56, 3/5, getting up to win it in deep stretch here. The 2-5 Exacta is worth $65 even, while the 2-3-1 Try, 2-3 Exacta, $65 even. 2-3-1 Try is worth $674 even. The 2, Art of the Matter, returning 889, 84.60. Second, the 3, Meadowland partner, $11.20, $5. Third of the 1, Royal Marjo, $5 even. 1:56 and 3, the 2, Art of the Matter, and driver Trent Tharps. Scratch the 2, Strawberry Kisses, judges the 3, Wedding Connection, owned and trained by Chuck Grubbs of Grove City, Ohio, Bob Harper. The 4 is Samantha Sharp, owned and trained by David Cooper of Sabine, Ohio. Ace Nysonger is up. Number 5, Paige's Promise, owned by Summer Zubkoff of Monroe, Michigan, trained by Lloyd Hawk, Tony Zubkoff. The 6 is CC Ashley Dash, owned by Pamela Davis of Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Brandon Piggott, Brett Miller. The 7 is Rosie's Dream, owned by Chad Davenport of Walbridge, Ohio, trained and driven by Don Sensabox. The 8 Woolridge Kenwood is out sick, and for the outside of the 9 is Dorothy Dana, owned by Richard Elwood of Lancaster, Ohio, trained by Rick Cartman. The K-Man, Kane Kaufman, Yen Hersolke. That's the field for the 9th race. Scratch the 2, Strom the back stretch, and they're approaching the start. Field in motion. They're off and pacing in a very nice start here and flashing early speed from the outside. There goes CC Ashley Dash on the go right alongside Rosie's Dream, driving up the extreme outside. Dorothy Dana 3 wide to join the fray and crossing over to the pylons here. Away in second, Rosie's Dream has found the garden spot there. Third on the inside, CC Ashley Dash. Fourth on the inside, that is Wedding Connection. Fifth along the pylons, Bombay BB. Sixth there, that is Samantha Sharp. And seventh and trailing, Paige's Promise and Tony Zubkoff. Can see them all. The opening quarter in a spirited 27 and 2/5. Driving on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. Dana the K-Man up top here, dictating the fractions, trying to ration out her speed. Leading it by length and a quarter. To the inside, Rosie's Dream is racing into CC Ashley Dash is next and third, watching over the top 2. Fourth on the inside, Wedding Connection. Fifth there along the pylons, that is Bombay BB, followed in 6th by Samantha Sharp. And 7th in trailing the field, that's Paige's Promise. They reach the half, 58 and 1/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Fillies and mares' heads are pointed towards 3/4 up top. Dorothy Dana continues to carve out the fractions, leading it by length and a quarter. To the inside, Rosie's Dream is stalking into with less than 3/8 of a mile to travel. Sent first over the rim, racing in third. CC Ashley Dash continues to close on the leader here. Perfectly placed second over the outside in fourth. Wedding Connection is looming the danger very boldly. Fifth on the inside, Bombay BB. 3/4 and 127 and 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home. And on the outside, CC Ashley Dash has struck the frontier. To the inside, Dorothy Dana's trying to go with her. Outside in third, Wedding Connection as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, and CC Ashley Dash with the lead here, but Wedding Connection is coming at her and coming onto the outside. CC Ashley Dash is digging down deep. Wedding Connection with one final surge. CC Ashley Dash in front. Wedding Connection to go second. Dorothy Dana was third to the time of the mile, 1:56 and 3. CC Ashley Dash. Ashley Dash, 6th win in 2004, a 5-year-old black mare by Towner's Big Guide of a happy escort mare. Caro's Terra, owned by Pamela Davis of Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Brandon Piggott. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. That's a Grand Slam +1 for the Hitman, 5 wins on this evening's card for Brett Miller. Returning 380, 260, 260. Second to 3, Winning Connection, $3, 260. Third to the 9, Dorth Dana, $3.20. 6-3 Exacta, $10.40. 6-3-9 Try, $44.60. Here are the parading pacers. The one is CR Colorado Kid, owned and trained by Eddie Pulling in Lebanon, Ohio. Jeff Fout, the reinsman. Number 2 is Mighty Sam, owned by Catherine Hawk of Orient, Ohio, trained by Lloyd Hawk, Adam Rucker. The 3 is Rockin' Man, owned by William Young of Grove City, Ohio, trained by Terry Groves, Ryan Goldenhand Stoll. The 4 is Bad Boy Justin, owned by Karen Seifert of Mount Sterling, Ohio, trained by John Tatum, Bob Harper, will drive. The 5 is Fred in Full Stride, owned by Reed Racing in the big city of Newark, Ohio, trained and driven by Dean Collins. For the 6 is Tucson Guy, owned by Gary Adams of Circleville, Ohio, trained by Jerry Kuchbach. The K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 7 is SOKY'S Patron, owned by Victor Gray, the 2nd of South Lebanon, Ohio, and Wilson of Argonia, Ohio, trained by Ron Taubert, Brett Miller. With the 8, Herschel Kiss, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio. J.D. Perrin is up. From the outside of the 9, Gigabyte Bluegrass, owned by Carl May of Bell Center, Ohio, trained by Fred Winstead Jr., Kyle Ader. And for the 2nd tier, number 10, More Hit Music, owned and trained by George Anthrop of Marshall, Michigan, Don Sensabox in the sulky. That's the field for the 10th race, claiming handicap. There they go. This field is in motion. Being placed on the go. They're all fan pacing and firing out of there from the inside. There goes Bad Boy Justin getting the first call. Driving up on the outside, Tucson Guy. The K-Man is underway there. Up on the bit, so he's rolled him for command here. From the inside, CR Colorado Kibbet come away in 3rd. Inside and 4th from the 2nd tier, More Hit Music. Angle to the pylons in 5, Mighty Sam. 6th there is Rockin' Man. Just ahead of there in 7th and parked out and looking for a spot. That is SOKY'S Patron. 8th along the pylons, Fred in Full Stride. 9th along the rail, Herschel Kish, and 10th and trailing, that's Gigabyte Bluegrass. The opening quarter came and went in 29 seconds flat. On by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. Tucson Guy up top here, leading it by length and a half. To the inside, racing into, and that is Bad Boy Justin up top. Outside racing into now, More Hit Music is thundering up on the outside here. Tucson Guy along the pylons is 3rd, watching over these doing leaders. Inside racing in 4th, CR Colorado Kid. Outside racing in 5th there. Parked every step, that's SOKY'S Patron as they step towards the half. They're halfway home, 58 3/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed toward 3/4 and up top now. More Hit Music clear to the frontier. Inside in 2, that is Bad Boy Justin along the rail, racing in 3rd. Tucson Guy is covered up, continuing to advance on the outside in 4th. That is SOKY'S Patron. Pending at the pylons in 5, CR Colorado Kid. 2nd over the outside in 6th and gaining ground there. Fred in Full Stride as they race towards the 3/4 mile mark of the race. More Hit Music on the inside of the outside. SOKY'S Patron has put in a huge mile here. 3/4 and 128 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and SOKY'S Patron has now claimed control of the racetrack. To the outside, Fred in Full Stride is trying to come on to him as they turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to pace, and they're on their way home. Driving through Power Alley. Up top here, SOKY'S Patron to the outside. Fred in Full Stride coming at him and coming on. To the inside, SOKY'S Patron. Fred in Full Stride. SOKY'S Patron in front. Finishing 2nd, the 5, Fred in Full Stride. Close for 3rd at the time of the mile, 1:58 and 1/5, SOKY'S Patron. So official, 754 official. The 7, SOKY'S Patron, returning trackside of the winner's circle here. A 9-year-old brown cutting by SOKY'S Adam. Out of an Ombro Raven mare, Anna Patron. Owned by Victor Gray, the 2nd of South Lebanon, Ohio, and Wilson of Oregon, Ohio, trained by Ron Taubert. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. That's 6 wins on this evening's card for Brett, as he continues to dominate. The 7, SOKY'S Patron, home a winner at 158 1, returning 880, 580, 460. 2nd, the 5, Fred in Full Stride, 1060, 680. 3rd of the 4, Bad Boy Justin, $4 even. 7-5 Exactas worth $161.80, and the 754 Try, $410.60. Liberty, North Carolina, trained by Calvin Huller. Trent Tharps Jr., the reinsman. Number 2 is Drum King, owned and trained by George Anthrop of Marshall, Michigan. The K-Man, Kane KAUFFMAN. Next out of the paddock, the 3, Speedy Quick, owned by Janet Irvine of Mount Gilead, Ohio, and Matheny of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Janet Irvine with Don Sensabox. The 4 is Cashman, owned by Jody Sanders of Grove City, Ohio, trained by Mike Metters, Bob Harper. The 5, Studling Lamont, owned by John Bryan Georges of Wilmington, Ohio, trained by Calvin Wright, Kyle Waiter. The 6, Lamb Peter, owned and trained by Randy Lee Owens of Lebanon, Ohio. Ace Nicehonger is up. Number 7, the Upsetter, owned by June Stone of Lebanon, Ohio. Eddie Pulling Trains, J.D. Perrin, the reinsman. The 8 is Sable Scooter, owned by Patricia Tatum of Columbus, Ohio, trained by John Tatum with Brett Miller. And for the outside of the 9, Vincello Hanover. The lessee is Russell Worley, the 3rd, Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Russell Worley Jr., Ryan Goldenhand Stull, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 11th race, claiming pace. First half of the late double exacta trifecta, wagering a field of 9 to go postward. Here into the back stretch, and there they go. Break the 1, staying forever behind the gate before the start. Field in motion. They're off, Fan pacing and driving out of there for the lead. There goes the 4, Cashman, getting the first call. Driving through from the inside, Drum King of the K-Man is forcing the issue here. Up on the outside, Sable Scooter is looking to come away, racing in 3rd. Con to the outside and driving on from 4th, Vincello Hanover. At the pylons in 5, that is Studley Lamont. Next there in 6, Speedy Quick. 7th there along the pylons, that is Lamb Peter. 8th there, that is the Upsetter. And 9th in trailing the field after the early miscue, staying forever. The opening quarter comes and goes here in a quick 27-4. On by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and Cashman and Bob Harper up top here. Your 8 to 5 punter's choice, leading it here by length and a half. Into the inside, stalking into, that is Drum King in that garden spot. Left to the outside there, hung in 3rd, Vincello Hanover. 4th, that is Sable Scooter, tipping to the outside in 5, Studley Lamont. Up on the inside, racing in 6th, and now tipping out Speedy Quick. 7th is Lamb Peter. 8th there along the inside as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over the half. That's the Upsetter, and 9th and trailing staying forever. They're halfway home, 57 1/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 up top. Cashman with a lead here on the point, leading it by length and a half. Into the inside, racing in 2 with Drum King with less than 3/8 of a mile to travel. Swung up 3 wide around that cover. That is Studley Lamont as they enter the far turn. Inside, racing in 4th there and looking for racing room. That's Sable Scooter. Outside in 5, Speedy Quick. 6th is the Upsetter. 7 to the outside of there, Lamb Peter. 8th along the inside of Vincello Hanover. 9th and trailing, staying forever. 3/4 was stepped off in 1:27 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and on top of the field, Cashman with a lead here. Now moving to the outside, Drum King as they turn for home. Less than 1/8 of a mile to pace, and they're on their way home. Driving through the lane. On top, Cashman with a lead here, and he's responded well. Cashman is going away very close here for second. Drum King with a closing Lamb Peter. Lamb Peter up for second. Drum King was 3rd. Down to the mile, 1:56 4/5. Cashman 2 in a row at Scioto Downs. Stepping trackside of the winner's circle, the unofficial winner of the 11th race, claiming pace in 1:56 4/5 for the 5th win in 2004. 2 in a row here at Scioto Downs. For Cashman, a 9-year-old brown horse by Call for Rain. Out of a duplicate mare, Carmia Duplicity, owned by Jody Sanders of Grove City, Ohio, trained by Mike Metters. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Bob Harper. For Bobby, that's 2 wins on this evening's card, giving him a driving double as he steers the 4 Cashman home a winner, returning 520, 383.40. Second, the 6 Lamb Peter, returning 1420, $16. Third of the 2 Drum King, $460. 4-6 exacta, $71.20. 4-6-2 try, $263 even. $10 to go postward here. There are no changes. The 10 King Aura will score from the second tier. Here are the Superfecta Pacers. The 1 is Activator, owned by the Brittany Farms of Versailles, Kentucky, trained by Dan Ader. Kyle Ader drives. Next is a 2 ER Golden Beach, owned by Bradley Nielsen of Pataskala, Ohio, trained and driven by Bob Harper. Number 3 is Fort Herod, owned by Collins, Almond, and Kathy Collins-Taylor. They're all the Buckeye State, trained and driven by Dean Collins. The 4 is Carolina Bob, owned and trained by Dick James, and Lebanon, Ohio. The K-Man, Kane KAUFFMAN. Number 5 is Jenny's Wild Child, owned by Stephen Watkins of Sydney, Ohio, trained by Dan McClock with Adam Rucker. The 6, Dan.Fen. The lessee is also the trainer, Bob Stickley of Urbana, Ohio, Sandy Beatty. Number 7 is TNT Hanover, owned by Beverly Bushelman of Franklin, Ohio, trained and driven by Darrell Collins. The 8, the Big Wazoo, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio, J.D. Perrin, the reinsman. For the outside of the 9, Peg and Pete, owned by Terry Garrett of Dayton, Ohio, trained by Scott Ferguson, Chatleys. And for the second tier, number 10, King Aura, owned and trained by Roy Murphy of Mendon, Ohio, Brett Miller, and the Sulky. That's the field for the 12th race. The back stretch, and there they go for the Superfecta finale. Field in motion. Bang, set on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing away mid-track. There goes Jenny's Wild Child getting the first call, driving through between horses. ER Golden Beach, Activator from the rail up on the outside. 4 deep there to join these. That's Peg and Pete. They spar up top here for command. In between them, racing in fourth. That's the Big Wazoo. Off stride there on top. Went to the 2, ER Golden Beach on a bad break there and is now inside the pylons, forcing the 1 Activator inside the pylons as they race by the opening quarter in 29 seconds flat. On by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half and up top here, leading the way, leading it here by length and a quarter. That's Jenny's Wild Child. Inside racing into the Big Wazoo, racing third, Peg and Pete. Outer flow beginning to form fourth there. Fort Herod first up along the outside, second over the outside, racing in fifth. That is Carolina Bob, sixth and pendant at the pylons there as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the halfway mile mark of the race. As they reach the half, they're halfway home, 59 2/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and on top, Jenny's Wild Child with a lead here. Bearing down to the outside in 2. Fort Herod is now joining this leader. Off the pylons, here comes the Big Wazoo, racing in third there. Outside in fourth, Carolina Bob. Penned in, racing in 5, Peg and Pete. Sixth on the inside there. As they step towards the 3/4 mile mark of the race, Dan.Fen is switched to the outside as they race by 3/4 and 1:27 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and on top of the field, Fort Herod with lead here. Into the outside, racing in second, that's the Big Wazoo at the rail in third, Jenny's Wild Child. You can forget about the rest as they turn to the top of the stretch. Less than an eighth of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, and on top of the field with lead here, Fort Herod. Into the outside, the Big Wazoo. Up the inside, here is Jenny's Wild Child once again as they come to the wire. The Big Wazoo gets up to win it there in a bizarre ending. Very close there. Fort Herod was also right there at the wire. Time of the mile, 1:56 and 2/5. (1:835) unofficial. 1:835 unofficial. Inquiry against the unofficial winner, the 12th race, the 1 Activator for racing inside the pylons. Unofficial, hold all those tickets. The race, the 8th, the Big Wazoo. A 4-year-old bay guarding by Doctor of Style out of 8 Towners Big Guy mare, Spicy Sabra, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio, posting the 4th win in 2004. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver J.D. Perrin. That's 2 wins on this evening's card for J.D., giving him a driving double here at Scioto Downs, returning $61.60, $17.67. Finishing second, the 3 Fort Herod, returning $6.84. Third to the 5 Jenny's Wild Child, returning $8.80. Fourth, the 4 Carolina Bob. 8-3 exact is worth, get back to that late double, 4 and 8 is worth $579.60. The late pick 3 of 3, 7, 4, and 8. 8-3 exact is $663.80.